Let's discuss this and more with Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi. He's a key member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. How powerful a message does this indictment, these charges, send?
It's a very powerful message that we have to guard our national security, and when you have access to our nation's crown jewels, our top secret documents and other classified information, you have to guard it. You have to safeguard it, because if it falls into the hands of adversaries, it will be used against us. It's the principle that kind of undergirds the prosecution or the indictment of President Trump. It doesn't matter whether you are an airman, such as Mr. Teixeira, or a former president of the United States. We have to put our national security first.
So what goes through your mind when you see these latest charges against this U.S. airman, as opposed to what's going through the charges that have been leveled against the former president of the United States?
Well, they're slightly different, as you know. In the case of the airman, not only did he willfully retain this information, but he also published it, and he also unlawfully removed it. In the case of President Trump, he willfully retained the information, and then he's alleged to have obstructed justice in trying to get those documents back. What goes through my mind is you just don't see many members of Congress implicated in these types of scandals. The main reason being that with us, when we view classified information, it has to be in a secure facility. It's usually in hard copy only, and guards are actually watching over our shoulders as we view the information. And then we have to return it once we finish. And so what's going through my mind is, if we're able to successfully make sure that 435 members of Congress don't get implicated in these types of situations, why can't we do the same with others? And so we have to review the way in which classified information is treated and handled, and of course, making sure that none of it falls into the wrong hands.
It's very dangerous if it does. What's your reaction, Congressman, to some of your Republican colleagues now calling to actually defund the Justice Department and to retaliate against the special counsel?
I think it's nuts. I think, if you defund the FBI and defund the DOJ, it sounds a lot like defunding the police, and that's a bad idea. When you do stuff like that, it makes all of us less safe. I think that we have to keep our eye on the ball, and as Congressman Bacon said before, we should not be in the business ever of defending behavior such as that was implicated in the indictment of former President Trump.
On a different issue, Congressman, while I have you, U.S. officials are now saying that Russian-speaking hackers were likely behind a global cyber attack that hit several U.S. government agencies. What can you tell us about this hack?
Well, it's breaking news. I have to go back to Washington to learn more in a classified setting about it. But this would be only the latest in a string of cyber attacks by the Russians, but also, for that matter, the Chinese Communist Party has engaged in a number of cyber attacks. We have to up our game in terms of improving our cyber defenses. We also have to engage in much more public-private partnerships, because these same hacks that are targeted at government agencies are done to private sector entities, and in many cases it happens before it happens with the government. If we learn about it in advance, we can then apply the lessons learned to protect all of us. Now, in Ukraine, they learned that lesson, and they've successfully defended themselves from an avalanche of Russian attacks. And so we can apply some of those lessons learned in Ukraine even here in the United States.
Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Wolf.
Coming up.